Who tells you how valuable your life is? Are the people near you to blame? The group that always judges and watches? Or is it something more deep inside you? In a world where everything we do can be looked at closely and talked about, it could feel like our worth is held by everyone but ours. But let me tell you something. Being revolutionary with you, taken from the old, the silent way of knowing. Your real worth comes from inside, not from the cheers or what the crowd says about it. We are diving today into how following Stoic ideas can change how you understand of self-worth, help you get through the noise of what society expects and lead you to a more real and strong life. This is more than just a top level. We're really pushing you to check out rather than around you, to make you feel good. And I warn you, some of the thoughts we'll look into could be bold, as long as you're firmly rooted in trying to get outside approval, in case you're ready to take on the usual to get to the bottom of things, the lessons of Stoicism. And if you want to find ways to make a living that's really yours, then you've come to the right place. Do not forget to sign up. Share this video with your friends and like it, who are going their own ways of growing as a person and looking into philosophy. Stay with us until the end to find out how old wisdom is more important now than ever, and why sometimes the most important truths about our lives and selves demand that we face and think about everything we believed we knew. The mistake of looking outside for proof. Let us unpack something we all deal with but rarely stop to really understand: the trap of getting approval from others. The way we live sets this trap, woven very tightly into how we talk to each other every day, where the number of likes or friends could seem to say our happiness and sense of self-worth. But do we really have value? Just a group of outside affirmations? Stoicism is an old way of thinking that to Greece and Rome in the past strongly disagrees with this idea. St. Thomas taught us that only our own values are what make us truly good, our knowledge and fairness having guts and moderation. They say that outside causes, including what other people think, are out of our control and not caring about the evidence to our real happiness. Think about living in a state where nothing can disturb your peace because of an online negative comment or an unfriendly look in a public place. To be patient isn't just to endure things. This is about recognizing what really needs your attention. Now think about the past. After putting something online, there's often a strong urge right away so we can see what happens. For every text, like a little reward, a hit that makes you feel good for a short time, but it doesn't last long, does it? You'll soon check again. Wanting more. This loop can be hard to break, taking us further into looking for outside approval and farther away from being able to rely on own and happiness in life. What's worse is this hunger for approval from the outside does not only stay online. It gets into our everyday lives. We start to change how we act, the way we look, the choices we make in life to fit what we think will make us money, cheers, and applause. But here's a tough truth. When you base your happiness on what other people think, you give up your power. You depend on them, on a base that is just as shaky as the views around you change all the time. Stoicism is an effective cure, focusing on approving of yourself. It makes us think about ourselves, to try to get our own approval. For Stoics, the goal is to build an inner fortress, not affected by outside shocks. This isn't about ignoring other people, but about making changes how much weight their opinions have. It's about getting free, in realizing that you can live completely and happily with the okay. From that comes from inside, based on your own deeds and values. By putting internal proof first on the outside, we begin to be free from the catch. We start to do something with a cause that hits close to home with who we really are, not with a quick picture made to get praise from society. This change isn't easy. It takes a long time. It is deeply freeing, though. It gives you the power to live your true life, to pick ways those that are in line with your values, And finally, to live a life that's not just reacting to information from outside, to be proactive in living up to your own idea of success, feeling good about yourself. Getting into the world of Stoicism. We discover a cool view of one's own worth that is very different from what's normal now. The Stoic way of thinking, based on the beliefs of people who thought like Marcus Aurelius. Both Seneca and Epictetus offers a strong point of view that sense of self-worth should come from inside, instead of being a reflection of outside validations. Let's look into this a little more. What Stoicism teaches us that real worth isn't something you could win or lose. By looking at what other people think, it's something you naturally have. Deep roots in your values and the decisions you make being in line with those ideals. In real life, what does this mean? It means that your worth is the same. No matter how many people like your post on social media, go with your outfit, or praise your accomplishments. These outside factors are fine. Of course, they're not the basis, though, which you should build how much you value. Stoics living is what gives you self-worth. In line with reason, in balance with who you are, and by picking up good traits like wisdom, valor, fairness, and good sense. It's about what to ask yourself: am I choosing that I can support? Am I living in an honest and moral way? This conversation inside builds a sense of self-respect that can't be shaken, since it doesn't depend on based on outside conditions. It comes from within. And last, on their own. Think about the silent way of life, of everyday thought. Often done through writing in a journal or a thought for meditation. It's not just about getting better at yourself. It's a way of strengthening your set of personal values every night, to think about the day, not to punish yourself when you make mistakes or to keep track of your wins, but to honestly judge your acts go against what you believe in. This technique helps to make what you understand that makes sense of your worth by your ability to live a good life, not because the sands are moving. What the public thinks now. Adopting this stern method doesn't make you not caring about others. In fact, it's about recalibrating the impact that outside views have on how you feel about yourself. In a stiff frame of mind, comments from other people is not a way to judge how valuable you are, but rather information that can be used so you can get better balance with Stoic traits. It's about changing how feedback works, and praise into ways to improve yourself without letting them bother you. Peace inside you, the beauty of seeing how much you're worth, like something that comes from inside, that it gets a lot more stable and easy to control. You're no longer subject to of other people's whims or the pressures of society that force you to fit in. You gain freedom instead, to live a life that really shows who you are, based on the sound concepts of the Stoic view. Courage. Inside, getting into the idea to find inner courage from the point of view of Stoicism. We find something empowering of this old school of thought. Daring, in the sense of being tough, is not just about having brave acts to deal with physical problems. It's about being brave every day. What it takes to live honestly and stick to your beliefs. Despite fears and demands from outside sources, courage inside is the basis of Stoicism. It's about having the strength in order to face your flaws, worries, and decisions about what to do that are in line with your core beliefs, instead of those who just want to stay away from pain or get liked by other people. This kind of bravery wants you to look inside, to think about more than what you do, but why do it? What drives you to act? By a strong belief in what was right, or do they act because they want to? For approval from the outside, or a fear of being judged? Think about the situation where you stand, not a popular choice, but just because the guts here isn't just standing up, but in getting through their own fight against your own fears and worries. Stiff guts, which means staying on course even if it's rough. Putting your faith in your inner direction based on virtue. Adding on to this, what Stoicism teaches us, what real courage means, not only dealing with problems from outside, but also weaknesses on the inside. It's about being ready to accept in order to deal with your feelings such as worry and fear, seeing them as normal experiences of people instead of flaws. It doesn't mean that this acceptance being led by these feelings, but rather watching them with a clear head and choosing what to do wise and not based on whim. This kind of bravery that frees you deeply, gets you out from under the rule of trying to keep what you can't change, like what other people have to say or every outcome in life. Instead, It leads you to what you can handle, what you believe, and what you choose your good qualities. When you live like this, led by inner strength, you're not just giving in to the world. You are making your life happen, in line with who you really are. Stern courage also means being ready to change things what you think and do, because of what we now know, or a better reason. This ability to adapt is a kind of courage, because it needs you to give up, may have been held for a long time when they can't stand up anymore to logic and reason. It's about being brave. To change and grow, understand that Stoic knowledge, it's not important to know everything, but about looking for them, having an open mind, but also being smart in building up this inner bravery. We make people strong. That is very Stoic. It's a strength that doesn't just help us stay strong, but helps us do well. Making life's changes bound to be problems turn chances into for growth personally. Every problem turns into a chance to show good behavior, to make our promise even stronger, following our strict rules, and to help us understand better of what it means to have a good life. Risky situation, letting yourself be vulnerable. It might not be the first thing that comes to mind. This is what Stoicism means to you, but it's a fairly strong part. This way of thinking, being weak, gets a bad name a lot of the time. Thought to be a sign of weakness or something to keep secret, but Stoicism asks us to completely rethink this idea. It tells us that being open is a virtue, is not just going to happen. That is also a big strength when wise people are involved, a sense of self, and let's break this down. Stoicism admits that all of us are subject to feelings, mistakes, and bad luck. We are people after all. To be stern means to be strong, not by denial of these human traits, but in taking them and accepting and making sense of things. Being vulnerable and being tough. It's about facing our fears. There are risks and restrictions, and then turning around with honor and bravery. Think about the idea that being open to needs more courage than keeping how you really feel hidden, making it look like everything is okay. It means letting go. Tell me about your problems and worries. Not so other people can fix them, but so you can talk to them directly and deal with them in a healthy way. This is a very important part of being calm. Using common sense to deal with our feelings and changeability. Turning flaws into paths to help you grow and get better. But why do you think being weak is a strength? Simply because it lets real think about yourself and grow by being honest about your weaknesses. You give yourself a chance to talk to them. You save them from dark fears that make you move from behind. Taking on tasks that you can face straight on with this kind of participation makes you truly resilient. The tough kind that comes from knowing and being wise instead of just grit or denial. Besides accepting weakness, helps people get closer to each other when you tell the truth about your flaws. You make room for other people to follow suit. This could lead to more important and ties that help both personally and in a bigger sense, for the community. Stoicism doesn't lead to isolation, but a group of smart people and ties that help, built on honest encounters that are good. Letting yourself be vulnerable also fits with the Stoic way of life, to pay attention to what we can manage, letting go of what we can't change. When you agree that some things in life, such as feelings and what other people do, are not in your power, you are now free to focus. Based on how you answer them, being vulnerable then becomes a place to practice how to exercise power over how you act and what you choose, not over the outside world. Being vulnerable, when accepted, helps you live a more genuine life. It lets Stoics deal with and accept who they really are, even with all the flaws, fears, and doubts. This agreement doesn't make them weaker. Instead, it makes them more determined to follow the ideals of Stoicism. Making people stronger. Making people stronger could be talked about a lot in this case, instead of just getting back up during hard times, but from the point of view of Stoicism, it gets more in-depth meaning that is deeper. Stoic ways of living don't just get us ready to get over problems. They change the way we see everything, on what it means to be strong. Changing what could go wrong, turn strong chances into to learn and grow as a person. Stoicism's strength comes from in the philosophy's main idea, Getting to know and working within the two types of control Stoics pay close attention on making differences, the line between what we can control and our own ideas, how people act and react and what isn't, namely, the outside events and what other people do. This is not a passive exit, but a practice that actively empowers, by putting our efforts together, only about things we can change. We can make use of our mental powers. Be strong and steady when things in life don't go as planned. Think about this: the practice of Stoicism of everyday thought, often known as the evening prayer. Used in this way, Stoics think about what happened that day, not to stay on what went wrong outside, but to judge how they felt about it and get ready for problems in the future. Thinking about yourself in this way makes you stronger by making a habit of getting something out of every situation. Instead of giving up when things go wrong, they are used as stepping stones by Stoics, collecting ideas on how to deal with events like this. Also, things will be better in the future. Stoicism teaches us how to live, of managing how people think, a key to being strong, how we think about a problem, what we do in answer to it. If we look at problems as such as unsolvable problems, it's more possible that to feel stressed out. However, if we think of them as true, tests to be done about our spirit and our resolve, we go up to them with an attitude that is more positive. There is no lessening of this shift. The truth about suffering, we have the strength to face it, with honor and purpose. Still another Stoic tool for making people stronger: it plans to do bad things. Also called premeditatio malorum, or this method includes imagining possible difficulties and setbacks. I am not at all negative. This gets the mind ready to deal with tough situations if they come up, taking away the shock and horror that can go with unpleasant problems. The mind is being trained to be strong, allowing Stoics to keep their cool and practical no matter what. Besides, resilience and Stoicism is also about keeping a promise to follow our ideals, regardless of forces from outside. The silent idea shows this. Love of fate, or amor fati, Stoics try to do more than just accept, but accept no matter what life brings them. Having faith that every event is valuable and can help boost their morale and intellectual growth. It's not passive to accept this. It means being involved with life, choosing to see the room for growth in all of their lives, good or bad, in real-life terms. Making people stronger by following Stoic habits means changing the way you think, that sees the problems in life as important to our personal and the growth of ethics. It has to do with growing a strong spirit that doesn't break when pushed, but gets stronger. With every problem that was, keep your eye on your own path. This isn't about being alone, not caring about the needs and good advice from other people. It's about making sure that the decisions we and the way we live really belong to us, not just thoughts of what society expects or what the people around us want. The practice of Stoicism to keep one's eye on their own way is deeply linked to the idea of being able to take care of yourself, not in the sense of things, but in a way that smarts and intellectual sense. Stoics think that in building up inner strength, that depends less on outside sources of happiness and more on peace of mind, with logic and thought. This doesn't mean that the Stoics support for being emotionally cold. Instead, they strive for a place where they could be happy is not out of line because of the changing outside situations, by putting our lives in order about how we make decisions led by good sense and virtue. We deal with life's problems, seeing things more clearly. Just think of Marcus Aurelius, who, under such huge stresses in charge of an empire, found comfort that gave him strength in his Stoic views. He kept his eyes on his own path, not only to hold power well, but to live a life of morality and honesty. Thoughts about him ask us to think about it. Are we moving forward? Because they're good and right, or we're afraid of being judged or want to be liked. Keeping your eye on your own path also involves figuring out and holding on the idea of the problem. This is the way one more Stoic idea, which shows that problems shouldn't be seen just as obstacles, rather than chances to grow when we keep our eyes on the road. Every problem turns into a chance to use Stoic traits such as bravery and sweetness, truth and fairness. This changes the way how we see our trip, not like a smooth road to be easily crossed, but as a set of chances to learn those, make us smarter people who are more moral, Also, this Stoic practice helps grow plants taking care of yourself. It's about being honest. To our picks and the effects they had, Stoicism shows us that while we can't hold what takes place to us, we have full power about how we should react. So, keep your eye on your own road. Means being in charge some of your answers to the ups and downs of life. That means not blaming other people, situations or events for your sadness or mistakes, but instead looking inside, being aware of how you can change things and making smart decisions that are in line with your most important goals. This freedom of choice is freeing. As well as difficult, it needs steady attention, against the pull of going with the flow or skipping the hard part. It calls for daily thought, a key part of Stoic practice where to review what they did and what they intended to make sure they stay true, based on their religious beliefs. Basically, keeping your eye on your own path is about being real. Making a life is what it's about. That really shows who you are and what you want to be, not shaped by outside forces, but shaped by your reason, choices, and good behavior. As we all go our separate ways, let us be led by the deep knowledge of Stoicism, using it to light our path, making decisions that aren't only useful, but good and right both for ourselves and for the community as a whole. By making this solemn promise to pay attention to our own ways, we don't just make lives of real happiness, but also make the world a better place in places where honesty and virtue what the compasses are by which we all get around. Thanks for being here today. And for being an important part of our Stoic Journal group. Remember, how to become a stern person is not only about going through the hard times, but about making them different into huge opportunities for growth and understanding. As you keep going on your way, enjoy every moment with honor and bravery, and let Stoicism lead you to a life of real happiness. Watch it now. One of the movies told you about on your screen to go further into rigid rules and ways of doing things. Thanks for your time and hard work to making yourself better by following the classic advice of Stoicism. Until next time, don't lose sight of your own way and live a good life.